Andrea, welcome back to the show. So happy to have you here again.
Yay. Always happy to be here with you. Duh.
Andrea, you guys, Andrea is one of my closest friends, and it just feels like second nature to have her back on the show. We always talk about things that are just constantly moving the needle and are so meaningful that we've rounded up quite a few topics that are happening currently in our lives and Andrea's lives that we want to share. And Andrea, just again, introduce yourself to our audience that may not have heard our previous episode and that are new to you.
Yes, thank you. So I'm Andrea Vallely. I am the co-creator of a program called Shift Happens for Teens. I'm also a regular contributor to CBS 12, Mindset Expert. And my husband and I own a company called Shift Happens Global, and we provide programs for businesses. We do personal retreats, and we also work with individuals, and of course, our program for families. And I am so happy to be here, and I'm so happy that Eleana is part of our growing business, which is so amazing. I'm sure we'll touch on that. And the one thing I want to say that you just brought up, which is so beautiful, is like you and I, our conversations always lead somewhere deep. Like we might say, "Oh, your nails are pretty." However, it's never just a conversation about bubblegum. Like it's always goes somewhere that's just so internal and so deep and so meaningful and so next level. And that's like my favorite thing, which is probably why, duh. Which is like so connected. And, it's so funny. Like if I'll call you about one little thing, it'll end up just getting into this very deep, beautiful conversation where we both get to look a little bit deeper and go inward. So thank you.
Yes. And like yesterday we were having a conversation that each of our mornings were a little wonky.
Yeah.
And it's just so beautiful that the mornings were wonky and we could share our wonky mornings together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
here we are.
And here we are. I love it.
Yeah.
So, yes, there's been so many incredible ways that our lives have been expanding individually and together as a collective that, I think it's difficult for people to, first of all, put a voice to how it is that they want to expand. Because in their minds, yes, they want their life to expand, whether that be in their friendships or their business or their relationships internally. But how do they actually actualize that in their life? So, let's just start there and kind of break that one down.
Yeah. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is just the very simple one foot in front of the other. I know where I can tend to get caught up, where I have to catch myself, is futurizing too much. Um, the more we can actually stay in the moment, and I see this picture of it in my head, I don't have a beautiful way of explaining it, but the more we can just stay present, focused, and centered, like I imagine like a cylinder. You want to stay within that cylinder. That cylinder is not expanding to 3 weeks from now, and it's not looking back 3 weeks in the past. That cylinder, the capacity of that cylinder is I am here now. So in that moment, what is it that you want? What is it that you're drawn to? And what's one thing that you can do to move you closer? Because one of the things that you and I talked about was giving what you want to do a voice, and you actually brought that up. So I'm going to allow you to share that, because it was like it really snapped something in for me.
Yeah. So Andrea came to me one day and she's like, I just need to soundboard, bounce some ideas off of you. Like, I don't have someone to do that with. And I said, perfect, because I need that person in my life too. Like I love
Yeah.
my dear husband, but he's a guy and there's only so many things that he's gonna have the capacity to hear from me and respond in a way that will give me like tangible feedback
Yeah.
from the creative mindset. And so, Andrea kind of put together a weekly call with another girlfriend of ours. And I call it the mission mastermind because we're all very mission based, driven women. And it allows us the time to come together to share what's happening within our businesses that are going to then move the needle forward and then allow room for feedback or to ask questions. And Andrea came with some ways that she wanted to expand their business. And I was all about it. And I started my brain started going off and thinking of ideas and just things that I could provide as a way that could add to that vision and how to put those pieces together of that puzzle. And had you not put a voice to it, that would have never prompted me to share my insights. And so, yeah, that's where that came from, putting a voice to it, because it inspired me so much that had you not done that, it wouldn't have inspired me to then go and put a voice to things that I want or am thinking of.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that's the thing is we have a choice to put something out in the world or just keep it as a thought. And I think, again, it's the power of just one foot in front of the other. You don't have to know the full picture. You don't have to know how to do everything. That will come to you. The more open you are, it's amazing. The world really does support us, but we have to allow ourselves to be supported. If we're constantly fighting it, we're actually going to stop the process from happening. But that's the gift in, just learning to go within, listen. And going within doesn't mean you have to sit on your meditation pillow for 5 hours a day. It means that you just take a moment to take a deep breath, breathe in, and just, ask yourself, what is it that I want? What do I feel called to do? And listen to that calling. Because when you listen to that calling, the world will always support you. But we just are so programmed to sort of believe in fear and I can't, and here's why. And that's what gets in our way. It's not actually our ability, because if we feel called and drawn to do something, the ability is naturally there. There may be skills that we need to learn, but we will learn them. It's that natural noticing that's available for all of us, moving that forward and seeing what happens, because the world will guide us. It's actually not thinking that we know, it's more being in a state of like inquiry.
Oh my God. So like, ugh, this is why we're friends.
Yeah.
So one of the things that just made me feel so good when you said it was to allow yourself to be supported.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to be supported. You're not out there doing it alone or all by yourself. You are supported by the universe at all times. And I've seen this play out in your life, like on a like in super magnitude scale. So I would love for you to just peel back that layer really quick on how you have literally been so supported. And when you're in that flow and in that alignment, you're gonna know, because things will just start to happen and literally come out of nowhere. And you're like, I couldn't have even planned this better if I tried.
No, it's mind blowing. Um, the the situations, people, opportunities that have become available out of absolutely nowhere. And I think like the most interesting one that just came up recently was, and as you know, I'm doing this National Publicity Summit, and one of the people that I was speaking to with like an evening magazine type of show, but a national show, he said to me, do you have a board? And I was like, well, no, I'm not a nonprofit. I don't have a board. And he said, well, do you have like, a medical director or something like that? And what had been so crazy was that just a month ago, a neurologist had contacted me about working with his son, who totally is in this conversation, totally gets it. And he's a medical doctor that sees that our mind, the expansiveness of our mind is not within our brain. Our brain is the computer, but our mind, our capabilities come from our internal genius. Totally gets it, totally on the page, like just we clicked right away. And the funny thing is, I thought to myself, wait a second, yes, I do. So I called this doctor and I said, listen, how up are you to having a conversation if the opportunity should present, in this capacity on TV or a podcast or whatever it is, as far as aligning with what we share and what we teach. And he's like, oh my God, I'm totally on board. That came out of nowhere. It was like the resources that we need show up for us. And I have a gazillion stories like that. It's mind-blowing stuff that like you could never in a million years make up. That again, it's like the resources are here. We just have to be open to acknowledging them. So what I find is the less planning, the more easily, I guess, things happen to just occur. Another situation that we have is, we work with kids. We have this program called Shift Happens for Teens. And, ideally we want it to be in the world, because the essence of the program is, again, empowering kids, empowering our youth, showing them their natural genius, showing them how to use their mind as their best friend rather than their worst enemy. These natural tools that we have that we're not taught unless someone is pointing us in this direction. We're actually taught innocently, in a sense, to be stifled, because we're taught that it's all about how much we can retain. It's actually about how much we can feel, because the knowledge that we need is within us. So it's like how to access that inner genius that always knows the best, right, easiest, fastest direction for us to get where it is that we want to go. So that program is our heart and soul. And, we would love to have it in schools. We want to have it all over the place. But what's funny is there was a little bit of pushback and resistance with some of the school districts. Totally fine, right? Because we believe we're always going to be led in the right direction. And as it turns out, one of the school districts contacted us. Long story short, we had this conversation with them about a partnership where it's a win-win for everybody, and they were like, we would absolutely do that. So that came out of the blue. And it was funny because it came from, and I believe it's important to tell this, it came from, we were actually going to go the route of Facebook ads, which we may do at some point, but we had what one would label as an unfortunate situation with someone who we had hired to do that for us. So, at the time, at face value, you're like, oh my God, this is horrible. How could somebody, how does this happen? Whatever. But it was like internally, we knew, even though it was very upsetting, the actual, occurrence was upsetting. It was like we knew, wait a second, there's something more. And what started to come to me was, well, maybe that's not the route, because what actually feels more authentic is a relationship, is an affiliate where there's a relationship where someone who knows you is recommending and you're recommending, and there's a beautiful partnership and there's a camaraderie. Like that feels so much more authentic and yummy than a Facebook ad, which again can be super effective, and maybe we will go down that road. But what was interesting was once I just sort of put the thing that didn't work out so well to the side, this other opportunity, which just has grace and ease, and we're all on the same page, we all want the same thing for the kids, it's like that occurred. So
Mm.
there's so much room for magic. It's just about us stepping out of the way, and when something occurs that looks like it's not positive, I truly believe there's always a gift in it. Even Lee and I, my husband and I, were talking about how even the timing of when it was originally going to be launched, so much more has happened since then that we've been able to add to the program that we wouldn't have. Things have been improved. We ended up hiring the most amazing company to just make the actual process of it seamless. And I would not have gotten to that company. So, everything in life is a gift. It's leading us in the right direction. And especially Eleana, because you were there for the whole journey of, oh my God, you believe this happened? And then, oh my God, look what's occurred now. And, so you've seen the whole process of it. So the universe keeps showing me very, very deliberately, hang on, I got you, girl. Just stay centered, stay heart centered, go with your gut, go within. The answers are always there. And when there's little bumps in the road, there's always a gift in them. And that's just become, it's something that I've always known. But sometimes when things look unattractive, it's, you forget that because we're human.
Mm-hmm.
But there's always a light, there's always a reason. And one of the things that Lee and I have, been adding to our repertoire is advantage. Always looking at the advantage. Even when something upsetting happens, there's an advantage. What's the advantage? And going immediately there, because allowing yourself to sit for just a minute in the dirt doesn't make sense. That the more that we can just snap right back to the advantage and just know there's an advantage here. I might not know what it is right now, but I know there's an advantage here. The less time we spend restricting our bandwidth and getting stuck in the story and feeling a sense of defeat, that can't exist when we are in our essence. That defeat can't exist. So that's like a couple of the things that have been occurring that have just been like so amazing and so beautiful. And they've been like constant boom, 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 one after the other. So just like you were saying, it's like, when you get in that vibration, you can't help but be on like that magic carpet ride. That's what it feels like.
Oh my God. I'm watching that magic carpet ride as one of your best and closest friends. And then, to be able to be an extension of that magic carpet ride, because once you're around those types of people, it naturally starts to spill over into your realm as well. And that's why it's so important too. Like the community you're around is the vibe that you carry.
Yeah.
And we knew that we were very similar and alike in each other's vibes. and we've always remained close in that sense. And so, one of the things that comes up for me is recognizing, okay, how is this being used for me? I truly believe that everything in life happens for you.
Mhm.
And you choose if you want to view it as happening to you, right? That's the
Yeah.
victim mentality, woe
Yeah.
is me,
Yeah.
oh my God, like, why me? But when you see it as what's happening for me, like, yes, that was unfortunate, right? With the Facebook ads and how
Yeah.
that turned, and things that in life that are just unfortunate, but there's an opportunity because life is showing you, God is showing you, universe is showing you, I'm redirecting you. That's not the path, which the intention is great, but I want you to redirect that energy into this where it's going to even go further.
Yeah.
And like you said, the less planning, the less thinking, the more just being and allowing yourself to be supported through that, the path will continue to unfold. And then look, the school board for the county reached out and wants to form this partnership, which will reach hundreds of thousands of families, and then everything else is just continuing to fall into place. So that's the other part I want you to touch on is there's an endless amount of possibility in one's life,
Mhm.
but we get so stuck and
Yes.
contracted.
Yes, yes. So, yeah, I totally know where you're going. Love, like one of my favorite conversations. So, we have various lifelines that we can hop on. There's a lifeline for, doubt and dreariness and hopelessness. And there's a lifeline of achievement and love and energy and happiness. And we get to choose which identity we want to align with. And this is absolutely true. This isn't woo woo stuff. If you look back on your life, you can see it for yourself. But we actually can influence what lifeline we choose to appear on because there are various options and it's up to us. It's up to us energetically. It's up to us energetically to choose the identity that how we want to see ourselves. So if we see ourselves as, you know what, things never work out for me, things will continue to not work out for you. If you see yourself as there's always opportunity for me, there will always be opportunity for you. So what identity are you choosing to live in? Are you choosing to live, an empowered, conscious being? Or are you choosing to live in a very stifled, restricted bandwidth type of situation? It's very easy, especially when you're down. And I get it, I get it, because been there myself, to believe that we have influence over how our life is occurring. Okay. It is very difficult. And I absolutely know that. And we get these glimmers of hope. Even when we're down, we have glimmers of a giggle, glimmers of laughter. Hop on those glimmers and hang on to them, because what happens is our mind starts saying, wait, you don't deserve to be happy. Look at your circumstances. Your circumstances are really crappy. There is no reason for you to be happy. So that ego part of our mind wants to keep us stifled. So, there's a little bit of an internal battle going on there, but I encourage everyone to not listen to it, because the ego is going to grab on and say, no, 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 stay in the mud with me. And there is so much more available. We can choose what identity we want to live from. So when we choose, I am, an empowered, happy, loving human being, and I'm walking into the world as the CEO of me, that is a whole different ballgame. That once we make that choice, that conviction is out in the world. People feel your energy, they feel your energy, they feel your genuineness. And when it comes from that genuine place of knowing the truth of who I am is already perfect, I can be, do, and have whatever it is that I want.
Mhm.
And we are in that energy, the world, again, it's that magic carpet. It unfolds for you. And that's been the feeling I've been saying, it feels like this magic carpet ride. As you know, I've been involved in this media summit, and it has been incredible to share what I see on a level that I did not know I would be sharing what I'm seeing. And to have the response of people connecting from all over and seeing the importance of this understanding. And again, there's a lot of people that share this understanding, but it doesn't matter, because the more the merrier. The idea is to raise the level of consciousness, raise the awareness. We need as many people as possible to see the truth in this so that we can lift ourselves up. The world is in desperate need of it. So it's
Mhm.
our job to choose that timeline, to choose that lifeline that is of most benefit to the world. And that's not the lifeline that's stuck in the story. That's the lifeline that is in possibility.
Mm, it is. And it really goes back to the inception where because, right, and I'll take us to church for a quick second and bring us back,
Yeah.
because God gave us that free will, that is the choice that
Mhm.
that's our power. Our power is in our choice.
100%.
He gave us the free will so we understand what it is to be genuine, what it is to operate from love, what it is to allow yourself to be supported. Because had we not been given that choice, it would just be what it is. There would
Yes.
never be any form of possibility because there would be no possibility without choice. Choice is possibility. And so when you think about it from that perspective, you are never actually stuck. It's a choice to be stuck. But the problem is, we actually don't want to accept that responsibility because it doesn't feel good sometimes to know that it is on you to get yourself out of that place and into
Yes.
the right rooms. If you're
Yes.
surrounding yourself with people who are also stagnant, like I had this one person tell me once, and it happened to be someone I was in a relationship with. And he said to me, you will never have an opportunity like this again. Not just with him as a person, but with, the business and the things that we were doing at that time. And I looked at him and I said, I am damned to believe if this is the only opportunity that God's given me in my life. I refuse to believe that. I refuse. And what happened? My life continued to evolve and unfold because I believe that I am blessed and highly favored, just like I know you do too.
Mhm.
And that belief continues to have your path unfold. And I've never seen that person again in my life. Why? Because I jumped timelines. I
Exactly.
removed myself and moved into the realm that I'm meant to be in, away from people like that. And
Yeah.
so it's so easy to then along your journey identify, nope, that person's not on my timeline. You can still love them from afar, but
Yeah.
be wary of how close you get to people and start to recognize, what timeline are they on? Are our timelines aligned? Can we support each other mutually, right? In the direction that we're going in.
Yeah.
And I love how you've been talking about how, it's a matter of recognizing, okay, where am I at and how can I get to where I want to go?
Mhm.
Um, and so then comes life's synchronicities where things just start to occur
Yeah.
and you're like, where did that even come from? But when you align yourself on that timeline, things will start to move
Yeah.
so fast.
Yeah. Yeah. And just listen. Like it's what you're reminding me of is like, um, yeah, you just want to listen. So before COVID, I was on CBS in the mornings every Monday for about 3 years. And then COVID hit. And of course, they didn't have guests and things changed. So I've only once in a while would I call them up if I felt like, oh, here's a story that you might be interested in, whatever. So I've only been on a couple times since then. And maybe about 2 months, I don't know, a couple months ago, or a couple weeks. Yeah, it was about 6 weeks ago, maybe. I thought to myself, you know what, let me call Sam. She's the anchor. And I had an idea for the holidays. I was like, maybe this would be a cute segment. So I called her up and she was like, oh my God, perfect timing. Great. We'd love to have you. So the reason I'm telling you this is because I did the segment and then coinciding with that, literally the day I did the segment was the day that this publicity summit began. So I was actually able, when they would ask me about my background, I was actually able to say, oh, I was just on TV this morning. So the reason I'm saying that is because there was no thought of either or in my head. There was just a little gut feeling of, you know what, this is a great time to remind people how to navigate the holidays because that can always be a challenge. And those things work together. So what I'm saying is when you get a hit for something, don't question it, just do it. Like even it's so funny, one of the people that I was not even going to pitch in this media summit because it was like a crime show. And I was like, I can't, like I didn't kill my husband. I can't fit into that. And, but in listening to him, because we get to hear them speak first, the producers, it's like, oh my God, this guy's so aligned. He's like so spiritual. He's into music. Like, what a great guy. No matter what, I just want to talk to him. Well, I'm so happy that I did, because he's the one that said to me, listen, I know, I might work here, but I talk to many people in the industry and I love what you're saying. And here's what you need. And he's the one that said, do you have a physician that aligns with this? So that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't open to speaking to him. So just like you were saying, don't judge the doors. Don't close any of them. There's a million different ways that things can happen. Now, remember, this doesn't mean, oh, this is definitely going to happen. What it means is that everything is building on top of one another. I'm learning as I go, with nothing attached to it. There's no
Mm.
attachment to what's going to happen from this. There's no attachment to the conversations that I'm having. It's just opportunity that, again, sort of came out of nowhere. Even this summit sort of came out of nowhere, the way that it occurred. And so, you know, I feel like what it looks like to me is the less attention we pay to the brain, which is very logical and very needed, but the less attention we try to get direction from it. And the more we go for the direction from just listening to that natural space from within that's always guiding us to, this natural gift. Like, we all have this beautiful gift, like a very beautiful, very specific to you gift. So tap into that. That's where the magic is. And don't judge it. Just let it be what it is. It's actually, the less judgment we have about ourselves or our ideas, and the more we just go for it, the more absolutely amazing things occur, because that's when we're, as you say, Eleana, in alignment. We're in alignment, and the world will always support us when we're in alignment.
It is. I found that the worst place to be is when you're sitting there waiting to make that phone call, about to press send on that text message. You have all the content stored in your camera roll that's not being uploaded. You have this person you're waiting to have the conversation with. You have the coffee shop that you've been dying to get to. Your life is literally on hold because you're just literally paralyzed from showing up, which is a real thing. You're afraid of, how is it going to come across? Am I going to get rejected? How will people respond? Will there be traffic on the way there? Whatever your scenario or excuses look like, on the other side is this amazing alignment and fulfillment and this energy. You're going to get a rush of energy, literally fill your entire body once you make that phone call, once you show up to that place, once you start posting that content, once you start aligning yourselves with the right people, once you start saying no and choosing yourself and your path and your journey because you believe in your joy. You believe that you're meant to be happy. When I hear people say, oh, I just want to live in peace, I want to be happy. Well, when the time comes and life gives you the opportunity, life is full of opportunities, just like school. It's going to test you once you think you've passed a lesson. Well, did you really pass the lesson? Life will test you. And instead of looking at it as, oh my God, here we go again, this thing is showing up again. No, it's showing up because, are you learning how to move through it with more ease? Are you learning how to show up when that situation occurs in a way that's actually going to support you in this new timeline you want to be on? So the way to actually have that type of alignment and synchronicity is to show up, is to do it with, even if you're a tiny bit afraid or have that fear in you or all those judgments around, showing up, to do so anyways. It's going to start to reverse your belief system and it start to feel good. Like, no, I want to show up for myself now. I want to get those things done sooner and quicker and faster. And when those hits come to you, like you had that hit to call CBS, just do
Yeah.
it. Just do it. Don't succumb to that lower self,
Yeah.
right? Show up for your higher self.
And just listen. The other thing that came to me was, like, just a couple of months ago, because I had a LinkedIn account, but I just was never very active on it. And just a couple of months ago, I was like, you know what? I need to be more active on LinkedIn. I mentioned this to you.
Yeah, yeah.
How do I get more active on? That was so out of the blue. That was before any of this conversation. Like, just so out of the blue. Well, I'm so grateful that I did, because now all of these contacts that I'm making, everyone's linked. We're all on LinkedIn together. So everybody that's involved in the summit, we're all chit-chatting on LinkedIn. Months ago, something said to me, you need to be more active. I can't even explain it. So what I'm saying is, like, just continue to listen. Don't question it. Just go with what you're feeling. and do it. Just one, my husband always says, one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other. Just continue to listen without, having anything on it. Like, I didn't start becoming more active on LinkedIn thinking, well, now I'm going to grow my business. I was like, no, wait, I just need to have more of a presence on LinkedIn. There was no agenda behind it. And now it's like, oh, well, this is why. I'm sure there's a million reasons why, but what I'm seeing so very clearly is to go for it. It's like, whatever you're feeling inside, go for it. We are never stuck. That's one of the big things that I've been really reiterating these past couple of weeks, is that we're never stuck. We're not stuck in relationships. We're not stuck in jobs. We're not stuck in our story. There is always a way. Even in our physicality, we're never stuck. There is so much available to us. And it's okay to ask for help. In fact, ask for help. People love to help. People love to feel on purpose. People love when you call them and say, can you please help me? Because we feel good. It's just natural. And I think so often, like, especially I'm a coach, right? So it's like, oh, I can't ask anybody because I'm a coach. I'm supposed to know everything. No, I'm not. Right? It's like, it's okay for me to call my friend and say, oh my God, Eleana, here's where I am. I've got spinny brain, and here's where I am, right? Like, that's so beautiful to just be okay, to know that you don't know everything. You don't have to know everything, that you're here in the world being a sponge, and just learning and growing and allowing that to be the space that you live in, because that's when connections happen easily. That's when synchronicities happen. And that's when expansion happens. And that's been our word recently, is expansion. And it was so funny because, as you say, once you give it a voice, Lee and I did a retreat back in August, and the week after that, we went to New York with some beautiful friends. We had such a great time, and it felt so expansive. Just the whole, that 2-week period felt so expansive. And that was the only word I could use to describe it. But we just felt this expansion. And what has happened since then? The only word
Mm-hmm.
to describe it is expansion. So when you're feeling something, give it a voice, because the universe hears you. And I actually just had that aha in this moment. So thank you.
I love that. So you touched on something that I wanted to bring up actually, and it was how to not get caught up in the story of the past. Because right now we're talking about the present and where we're going moving forward. But
Yeah.
so many people, and it will come up,
Yeah.
right? It will happen where
Mhm.
the stories of the past will reoccur, or people from the past will show up again. And now you're this different person, or you start to go back to who you were before to
Yeah.
make them feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
So how do we grow past that, like once and for all, if that's a thing?
Yeah, it's a total. I love you. It's totally a thing, Eleana.
I mean, I know it is, but some people may not think it is.
Yeah,
And
no. It's so funny because this has been so pertinent, this particular point that you brought up in my life recently, because, and Lee and I have talked about it, because it's, if you look back on your life and you say, oh my God, for X amount of years, I continue to repeat this pattern. How can I possibly change this pattern after all these years? And
right.
what if that pattern and all of those years was all of the learning that you needed to have to get to this point to make the change? There,
Mm-hmm.
there's
Mm-hmm.
a large boulder. It's not even a nugget, it's a boulder, right?
Yeah.
What if all of that experience and all of the repetitive oopses, or whatever you want to call it, what if all of that had to occur in order to stop that pattern, in order to see something fresh and new? Um, it it really is, when you think of the past, something that doesn't serve you in the past, like a pattern, you must literally know that it is made of thought that you have been chewing on and gnawing on, and that you can observe it, but you no longer have to chew on it. There's such a beauty in saying and noticing it, but no longer being available to it. Like, I believe it looks to me like when you are no longer available for it, and it's a big commitment because it's become familiar. That's the thing, is like our thoughts, what we believe about ourselves becomes familiar. But once we decide, I love that word decide, that I'm no longer available for that pattern, and come to an agreement with yourself that that repetitive pattern was in your life because there was still more to learn, but you are no longer available for it, and have a deep trust that you are supported. It's like we can all look back on our life and see that we are supported, but we have such a hard time moving that needle forward. So it's actually making the commitment to make that understanding that we are always supported more important than anything else. It's got to be
Mm,
more important than anything else. And having this realization that maybe that pattern stuck around so long because I wasn't ready. And that's the big realization that I came to recently, because there was a pattern in my life that I was like, oh my God, this pattern has been here for like way too long and I'm not enjoying it whatsoever.
mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
and we were just talking about it, and now that I look back, Lee said to me, well, maybe it looks like that was occurring because you just weren't ready. Like imagine all the things that I almost feel like recently everything's like sped up as far as our learning and understanding. And I had to go through all of those things because it was not ready. Like I was not ready. The information wasn't there. The understanding wasn't there fully. It was like that turn of the dial, that one more notch that needed to happen in order for it to be completed. It was not completed. And I didn't know, because
Mm,
we don't know these things, right?
mm-hmm.
But now it feels like there's a completion to it. So I see it every time my mind goes back to history. Um, I feel like, I don't know if override is the right word, but it's like there's an allowance to know, oh, I'm no longer available for that. That's in the past for me now, and I am fully supported moving forward, and remembering to not look for the evidence. That's where we can get caught. Do not look for the evidence, because remember, the world, there's a lag time in what we are creating, in what we are materializing. I love to say it's materializing. There's a bit of a lag time, so we've got to stay in alignment to support that that period of time,
Mm-hmm.
adjusting where things are
Yeah. I
to.
remember I was speaking to someone years ago, and I have I have a really big fear
Mhm,
in my life that I'm not comfortable yet sharing all the details on, but it's being exactly like this particular person, right? Like something you witnessed growing up, you don't ever want to repeat that cycle. And so
yes.
my greatest fear was repeating that cycle and literally having the same type of path and way
Mhm,
unfold for myself. And
mhm,
this woman like literally looked at me and she wanted to slap me, and she's like, stop thinking about that, because you literally will create just that. Doesn't
mhm,
matter how much you're afraid of it. If you keep
mhm, mhm,
emphasizing that, it's literally what's going to happen to you. So stop. She like wanted to slap me literally. And I'll never forget that, because it taught me a valuable lesson. You're absolutely right. I'm putting so much focus into it instead of what I do want. Don't
mhm,
focus on what you don't want. Focus on what you do want.
mhm,
And um what also has helped me kind of stomp over those old patterns and old ways and that past is to remember what my mission is, what my gifts are, what my purpose is, and to live on purpose for that purpose,
mhm,
and to not let that purpose go to waste. And
mhm,
every time I'm giving into those patterns, I'm giving into those ways, I'm not living on purpose
mhm.
for my gifts, for my calling, for my mission. And that's also helped me show up in such a way that's showing up through the fear, through the excuses, through all of that stuff, so I can honor my higher self. I can honor that timeline. And the more you do that, the more it's going to feel like second nature to you. And the old ways, like you said, are just going to start to shed off of you. And they're not even going to phase you anymore. Like your attention won't even spend more than 5 seconds on it, because it's not you anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And remember that literally is that shifting, you're shifting your lifeline. You're hopping onto a different lifeline. Because We are a character in a movie. So it's what character are you playing? We get to decide which role we play. And you know this in your life. Like you can see when in your life you're in a really good state of mind and you're feeling empowered, you're feeling on purpose, how the world responds to you. And then you can also see in your life when you're feeling a little bit deflated, when your bandwidth is restricted, like you can see how the world responds to you then too. So what character, what role are you playing? Like that has become so pertinent. And as far as like, patterns and historical patterns, um, we can be that change. We can be the one that stops that pattern. Um, we have the power and ability to do that.
Yes, that goes back to our choice and our gift of free will, which it
Yeah.
is the most beautiful gift because we then get to choose, like you said, what character we want to play. How do we want to show up in the world? Do we want to show up through our gifts or, through our ego, right? Which
Yeah.
it just keeps us small. So, okay, final thoughts here as we round up everything. You have been, we've talking about expansion and one thing that we didn't really touch on was the materialize, which I know you just emphasized,
Yeah.
over the manifest, which I've also been starting to switch my vocabulary on. And if you're, been OG on the show here and, you're part of our vibe, that language is so important. Words carry energy. And for some reason, materialize has been coming to me more than manifest. Let's
Hmm.
talk about that.
Yeah. So materialize to me feels like there's an ease to it. When something materializes, there's no push to it, there's no struggle. It appeared, it materialized, but there is I feel like there's a part of us that is in creation as far as materializing, but it feels like an effortless, it materialized, for me. And again, it's semantics, but what does it mean to you? Manifestation feels a little bit more forced, a little bit more like, I'm going to manifest that. What are you manifesting? Um, Materialize to me feels like ease. And it feels like there's less pressure because, sometimes you can feel like, well, what am I manifesting? Or, um, materialize, it's just got this vibe to it where, I don't know, it's like a Star Trek thing that's coming up for me, but it's like it's just we're allowing it. To me it feels like that lifeline or that timeline shift, because
Hmm.
you decide, well, this is the lifeline that I'm on, then you materialize what it is that person, that version of you would have in their world.
Mm,
So it's
yeah.
so you're literally jumping your lifeline, your timeline. You're jumping it. So it's what would be in your world when you are in that space, when you are of that identity, rather
Mhm.
than manifesting from where you are, which can feel a little bit more like a struggle. We want to see, where is our identity? What is it that we believe about ourselves? How are we showing up in the world? And then what materializes from that space. That's what
Mm.
it's like to me.
Yes. What comes up for me is that manifesting feels more like this aloof thing that's
Hmm.
just out there.
Hmm.
And it's work to pull that down
Hmm.
and then, manifest it. Well, it almost doesn't feel like I can materialize like the word manifesting. If it just feels like this aloof thing,
Hmm.
but materializing tells me that I'm the creator of what I'm materializing. It feels tangible, it feels real.
Hmm.
And so that being said, that being true, I then get to be in the driver's seat of what I am materializing, and it just feels more grounded.
Yeah.
And manifesting just feels more of this, like, again, aloof. That's the word coming to mind for me. Um, so, with that said, we're coming towards a beautiful season in life. We're welcoming a new year very soon in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to be materializing some expansive things in our lives.
Yeah.
We're going to be moving forward in our timelines. We're going to be choosing our higher selves. We're going to be living from that space of
Hmm.
joy, of feeling supported. And with that, I cannot wait for our next episode and all the things that we're going to have to talk about once
Yeah.
the next season comes and we're living from this space and all the things that come up for us to share.
Yes. All the things.
All of the things.
So fun. It's so fun. It's just magic. It is magic. It just feels like magic. And I love, let's just go with that materialize. It's so beautiful because that is coming from a space of creation. Beautifully said, beautifully put. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.